everyone, Ernie Tech here, and this is part 4 of our series of using Music SP on the Sim 390 emulator. And I gotta tell you, I have really enjoyed a lot of the comments that I've been receiving from people. They're really great, very useful, helpful, and very positive. So that really gives me incentive to keep going with this. And there is a ton of stuff to know. I mean, when does it end? It never ends. This is one of those areas where you can be in this field for a couple of decades and come back one day and say, I didn't know that. That's how complicated, that's how deep this is, especially when you get into the hardware and the history of the mainframe environment. I happen to really enjoy that part of it. I'm kind of a science fiction geek, and I always find it fascinating when computers are maligned and treated as the bad guys in the film. And of course they're not, but that's not the point. The point is it's cool. Anyhow, couple of quick things. So I had mentioned before in response to someone's question about making things bigger that I didn't know how to make the operator console of the Sim 390 larger. I knew how to make the actual terminal that comes with Sim 390 bigger by adding a line into the configuration file. But one of our intrepid viewers made a comment that all you have to do is just highlight the window, turn it on, as they say, and hold your control key down while you're using your mouse wheel. And look at that, boys and girls. That's nice. Well, thank you very much. I was going to mention people by name, and I actually asked if I could, but I just think in the internet in today's day and age, it might not be the greatest thing in the world to do. So you know who you are. Thank you very much. Outstanding work, and keep the comments coming. I'm all ears, as they say. A couple of other people added some great anecdotal things about their experience in their careers, questions about or comments about how bit 14 of the PSW had some kind of an error. I'll put the little thing down here what it was, and how IBM sent out a patch or a zap, as they say, and applied that, and that was interesting. A little over my head, so I'm a little hesitant to get into that because I'm not 100% sure what it means, but I get it. It's a fluid environment, and things happen quickly, as they say. The other thing, which I thought was great, was an explanation that my way of seeing the supervisory state rather than the problem state was not quite right. In fact, it was downright incorrect, I think. And that is that it's not like being an admin or using sudo as in Linux. It's not that you're giving yourself elevated privileges. No, that's not it. What it really means is that it's more to it than that. You are actually getting into the kernel, the kernel state of the machine, the heart of the machine, the ghost in the machine, and that is a much bigger deal. So I'm also going to put that comment down there on the bottom so you can see what that means and interpret it. And I really appreciate that. So keep the comments coming. It's really great. All right, what I want to do today in part 4 of this series is show you how this particular mainframe operating system, Music SP, was custom made for the academic environment. And it is one of the reasons why I chose it to start. And that's because it does resemble DOS in a sense. There are parallels to Unix where you are presented with things which look a lot more comfortable, familiar. Unlike in MVS, where you were really literally thrown into an entire alien world. Files have completely different meanings in MVS data sets. Partition data sets essentially function like directories. The interface is much different. There's very little hand-holding in MVS, where in Music SP there is a tremendous amount of hand-holding. Some might say maybe too much, but in an academic environment, and you can't have enough hand-holding, I guess. Anyhow, let's crank this thing up and see what I mean. What do I mean? Okay, let's add a Model 4, because we like Model 4s. They're all pretty and all that kind of stuff. Real funny things. So I'm one of those kind of guys, dude. I don't sleep much. I'm not a big sleeper. I never have been. Maybe I'll pay for it someday, but I'm one of those rare fools that functions perfectly fine on 5 hours. And last night I was up till about 2:30 working on another iteration of part 4. And I got it all done and all prepared, and everything was ready to go, and I put it into OpenShot, which is my editing tool. And I thought about it this morning, and I thought, I just don't like it. I don't know exactly why. I guess it's sort of like, you're in the studio all day, or you're playing with the band. You think you got the tracks down. You go home and you come back the next day and say, you know what? I don't like it, and I didn't like it. I didn't think it was. I just didn't think it provided the level of information that I want to do here. So I said, nope, we're doing it again. And now it is 9:51 in the morning. It's 22 degrees outside in my fair city. I'm sitting here holding my cup of coffee in my mug that I got from Bucky's on a trip down south last year. I had never been there before. It was wild. If you ever get the chance to go to a Bucky's, holy mackerel, that'll that'll keep you busy for a day. But anyway, so I'm here with my Bucky's mug, and I'm drinking coffee because that's what we do here in Ernie Tech's little mainframes. Anyhow, let's get into this thing and let's stop listening to me hammer on here. Let's get in the usual stuff. Usual rules apply. Na-na-na. And see you later. And we're in. So you get tossed into this admin main menu. Let's just get out of this. Couple of things real fast, some housekeeping duties here. Your function keys. You got to know a little bit of the function keys. The function keys that you're going to know and love the most will be F1. F3 will be your probably the one that gets wiped out the most. F7, F8, and F12 to a degree. And there are some that have functions, but it's for different parts of where you're at. So if you're in different functions, or if you're in panels that have a different definition for things, you'll use them. But generally, look down there in the left-hand corner, and you'll see these are the ones that you should depend on. So let's use the F3 key to get us out of this and drop us into the Go prompt or the music command prompt. Boink, there you are. Couple of things to think about. One of which is, if you are in a panel or in that admin menu or anything like that, you have some latitude. You can move your cursor all over the place and get to things. But if you're in this command area here, you don't have that latitude. You're working right in here. You're putting in the commands here, and everything's happening up here. And by the way, I changed my mouse color to a pretty yellow because I like it. It's pretty neat, huh? I made it real big, but it was way too big for me. All right. Here's the parallels between what Music SP is going to let you do and your familiar DOS environment. If you're an old DOS guy, your Unix environment, your Linux environment. But at the time this thing was running, it wasn't Linux. It was that was kind of new. It was Unix. So here's the most basic command in the world. We all know it. We all love it. dir, and it gives you a directory. It's basically the directory of the things that you have available to you as the super user, the user ID $000. You're in the root of the thing. You're down at the beginning of everything, and you have access to it. The dir command is just like in DOS, and everything you need to know, it really is great, is in the user reference manuals. The system admin manuals will frustrate you because they're not really geared towards where we are now. Maybe someday, if you're really into Music SP, you'll become a master at it. I like it a lot, but it's limited. Limited as far as this demo thing. So we will move on at some point, but we're going to dig into this a lot. Where you want to be looking is in the user reference manuals, from 1 to wherever, I don't know, 8 or something. And they're sequential. So if you open up one, it starts at page 1, ends at page like 98 or something. And then the next manual starts at page 99. So don't get confused and wonder why you're in the third manual and you're up to page 200. They're sequential from the bottom to the top, from the beginning to the end. You could just print these things out, punch them, put them in a big old honking binder, and then forget about them like I always used to do. I had, in my office where I worked, I had dozens and dozens of binders that I thought were really cool looking, but I never opened them because everything was on the screen. And that's where we're getting to now. What do you need to do here to get information and help instead of just staring at it and going, this is nonsense? And that is your F1 key. When you press your F1 key, it takes you to your help screen, all the different kinds of things that are buried in here, and there is a ton of it, which is very different than the other operating systems. MBS and MTS are not going to give you the depth of information that Music does. Music does this on purpose because you are a student, you are a faculty, you are in an academic environment, and that's cool. The difference here is that now you have the latitude to move, use your arrow keys to move all over the place. And this gets confusing for some people. So I think I told you I have two friends that are techies, very, very techie guys. And one of them is a retired, how can I put this? He's a retired scientist. That was his job. His job was to be a scientist, and he taught, and he was a professor, and he has his PhD. And, I'm always sort of in awe of my friend. But he's never played with something like this. He had access to the old mainframe from his university, but it was whatever they had created where he worked. He had spent his entire career there. So he's playing with it and sends me emails saying, I'm frustrated. This thing makes no sense. There's no consistency. And I said, yeah, that's true. It's kind of a work in progress that ended at some point in time. Okay, I'm yapping a lot this morning. It's the Bucky's mug. When you're in a panel like this is a panel. This is a menu or a panel. They can be different. Panels usually have no panels have entry points. Panels will have fields that you can put information in. Menus are typically static, or you just choose something. So there's your difference. So if you're wondering what a panel is giving you the points to put in data. It's prompting you and say, put in this line, your name or whatever. The menu is this, which is just a list of things. So let's go over here. And you don't even have to be on the red number. You can be anywhere you like in here. So if I go up here to commands and press the enter key, it's going to say, all right, what kind of commands? Alphabetical, by function, whether you're coming in through what they call a PSW or something like that, which is a workstation, a PC workstation. They had a piece of software or something for that. Job control statements, which is like JCL, but much pared back. Let's look at commands listed by function. You can use your thing all over the place. And what it'll do is it'll let you look at all the different commands that are available in the system. And this kind of parallels the second user reference, part 2 in the user reference. So just where you know where to find the actual paper if you want. All right. If you want to go down a little bit, you press your F8 key. This might take me to a different menu. No, not yet. F7 takes you up. So that's what the F7 and F8 keys do, is take you up and down. And this is kind of generic. There are areas where it doesn't always work this way. I want to point out something very interesting, just so you can see what's going on. Look over here in the instruction count. Watch these numbers change while I am going up and down and so on. Because what I'm doing is I'm giving the computer instructions to, move around the page. And Sim39 is recognizing that, lets you know how many instructions actually occurred to make that happen, which is a boatload. But, it's a big number. All right. All you have to do if you want to see something is just find what you want to look at. Use your little doodad here, your little cursor, go on top of it, press the enter key, and it will tell you exactly what it's about. So you can sit here and play with this for, forever. You do need the user manuals, but in this early stage, you can just stare at this terminal and have a blast. I've played with this thing for hours on end because it's wintertime. 23 degrees. What else am I going to do? And anyway, if you want to get out of it, you just press the F3 key, which I call your get out of Dodge key. That's the one that takes you back out. And it takes you back out and up through the menus, back to the go prompt. Okay. And I say that I sound like the guy from South Park, the teacher. Okay. I gotta stop doing that. More coffee. Hold on. More coffee. And I spilled it on myself because that's what we do. Getting into a little bit more. So I said it had a parallel to DOS and Unix. And the guys who programmed this, smart guys, obviously smart guys, they also put in a few Unix commands to give you sort of a feel for, both. So I can type in ls, but then it becomes case sensitive, which makes sense, right? Because Unix is case sensitive. DOS is not case sensitive. So if I take the caps locks off, I type in ls, watch what happens. It gives me the same thing. Gives me the same thing as dir. However, I can put in dir lowercase, it gives me the same thing. So it has a parallel. It has a parallel to Unix, and it will accept certain Unix commands. So it'll accept ls. What else will accept? I think it accepts man pages. Yeah, it does. So then you go back to another menu for the different manual pages. And So there are certain Linux parallels. There are definitely DOS parallels. It does have functions like copy and CD and so on and so forth. Let's try something. Remember the old DOS command tree? I like to do the uppercase. It just seems more cool. So here's where you get a sense, oh, I get what's going on here. Here's your tree. There's your subdirectories. Here is how it's laid out under the root directory of $000. So what they did was create an environment that makes you feel at least a little more comfortable, a little more aware of how things are structured and laid out. To parallel this from IBM's MVS system is this. In the MVS system, you're dealing a lot with where things are in volumes. You're dealing a lot with things that are known as data sets. And there are things called partition data sets. This is in the data set environment, not in, I think it's called vSAM. This is different. In the data sets, you have fixed block records. And these fixed block records can then sit inside of partition data sets, which are akin to directories. So it's very different. But in here, you're looking at things in a much more familiar sense. I'll go down a little bit further. And that's basically how it works. And across at the bottom, start using my little yellow mouse, you have your function keys to do what you need to do and get the heck out of Dodge. Let's try a couple things, see what happens. So if I place my cursor over a directory, SSP, and I press F12, it takes me right to it takes me there using the library management screen. So it's kind of a hybrid with Music SP. You can do things from the command line, and then if you're in a graphic environment like you were with the tree command, then you can again move your mouse cursor using the arrow keys and then apply a command to that location. If you're just at the go prompt, it's expecting just a command. So there is the kind of the hybrid environment. Actually, it really is a hybrid environment. You have Unix commands, you have DOS commands, you have panels for data entry, you have menus for selecting things. You can get to menus directly. You can call programs from the command line, or you can call them from within a menu. So yeah, you can get real confused real fast. But why not, right? All right, let's get back up to the top. Now, if I keep pressing this F3 key, the get out of Dodge key, it'll eventually take you up to the go prompt. So I hope that's a little helpful. A little bit, anyway. Couple of more things, and these are mostly things to get you comfortable using the terminal and navigating around. There's no reason to be frustrated. I was very frustrated when I first started playing in this environment. Before I cranked up Music SP and said, oh, isn't this lovely? When I was really getting into Hercules and MVS in the very first stages, I gave up once or twice. And then I finally went out and bought a couple of old books, real old books. One by Robert Johnson was the kind of like the grand book on MVS, and that was complicated as get out. But it did help me to understand at least a bit about what I was seeing and why I was doing what I was doing. This is a much easier way to enter into this. What is in this coffee? I am talking a lot today. Hold on. Oh, good. I didn't spill it on myself. So the morning must be progressing nicely. Okay. Getting back to a few more things. Let's try something. Let's go into the help. Let's go into the help function for a second. All right, so if I'm in here, one of the things I obviously want to do is understand how the editor works, because if you're going to program and do things, you're going to at least know how to edit things. Editor is complicated. So it tells you exactly what you need to do. So for instance, here it says edit new or edit new to start the editor program. Let's do that. Let's get back to the command prompt, start it from there, and let's try something for fun. So right now I'm in the SSP directory. I don't want to be there, so I'm going to type in CD. Now I'm going to type in CD, and it's going to tell me something a little bit different. If I type that in, it just tells me immediately what directory I'm currently in. And if I want to get back up, all I have to do is type in CD ... and it takes me back up. One thing is that there's a couple of messages that you'll see when you are working on something which takes a while. It's got a lot of processor requirements. The in progress prompt comes up, which essentially tells you just hang in there until I'm done. But in this case here, it's instantaneous, so it doesn't matter. Right now, though, where are we? We're in root. Current directory is the root. And if I say tree, it shows that I am currently right up here in this directory. And again, if I want to go somewhere, all I have to do is just move the mouse around and then press on that. But I don't want to right now. All right. Very short introduction to the editor so that you have a sense of how you would actually create files. So all you have to do is type in edit, the name of the file you want to create. I'm going to say hi there dot txt. Sure, why not new? That's important because otherwise, it's going to think there's already a file there called hi there txt, and there's not, and it's going to say I can't find this. It's not found. It's going to say no file, whatever. It's new is what the option has to be to create it. Watch what happens here. This is the editor, and it is the equivalent of something like VI in Linux, or a very rudimentary thing, as far as I'm concerned. Way too rudimentary. Okay, so here's what you do. Let's say I want to just type in something very hi there, top of file. This is music SP. How corny is that? Yeah, we're back in 10th grade, kids. What do I do now? Because every time I press the enter key, it takes me to a new line. How do I save this thing? Well, if I hit the F3 key, it's going to complain. It's going to say, if I hit the F3 key, it's going to say, are you sure you want to terminate? You didn't save the thing. Terminate your edit. And the answer would be no, I don't want to terminate the edit. And it takes me right back into it again. If I want to get to the command prompt, then I hit the F12 key. Excuse me. More coffee. Once I hit the F12 key, if you look down here at the bottom, it takes you to the command. Then I can say save. And it says, okay, hi there, text, txt, new file saved. And why this is important is simply, if you want to write a program, if you want to try out something, and remember now, there's very few compilers in this thing. I think there's only one or two. So you're not going to do a lot of programming in Music SP. This is really to understand how these things function. You're going to be able to use this editor to create that file and to edit that file and to do whatever it is you want to do. So right now I'm done. Now if I hit the F3 key, it says, yeah, okay, you're done. So we go back into tree. Actually, I don't want to go. Let's just do a dir. And look, there it is. Hi there, txt. So at the root, if this was a Linux machine, people would be saying, don't do that. That's terrible. Don't put files in the root. But it's not, and it's just our toy here. So that editor created the hi there txt. And if I want to then edit that, watch what I do. I can press the F12 key, and the F12 key will walk me through all the different past commands that I put in. Now if I say I want to edit that, I take out the new, hit that, and then I'm back in again. So it's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you have to know to make this work right. There's various commands and everything, but that's the general process. The general process is you have three ways of seeing the world. You have your Go prompt, which is the basic. You have panels, which are akin to entry forms where you would ask you to fill in a line, a blank line. And then you have menus, which are, like menus. You just scroll up and down till you find the line you want, press the enter key, and you're in. This is the editor. The editor is rudimentary, but it works. And you save files wherever you want, wherever you have privileges to. And then when you want to use them for a purpose, let's say you want to use them to write a program of some kind, you just use the edit command, save it, and then in another window, you would try to compile it. All right, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. But before I do, so we are right now at the command prompt. See down here? And if for some reason, I don't know why, but if for some reason the F keys weren't doing their thing, if you put in cancel, you should, yeah, it does. Cancel is another way of getting out of things pretty quickly if it lets you. 9 times out of 10 it does. And the reason why I use that kind of caveat is I've run into things where I'm thinking the guy who was writing this program went on vacation, somebody else came in, finished it, and it's not quite the way it's supposed to be. Cancel at a command prompt will generally perform like F3 if F3 isn't going to do the job. So just remember, F3 is to get out of Dodge. Cancel is another way of is to cancel. Okay. I hope this is useful because to me, there's nothing more frustrating than watching a video where someone is just going to town, typing away as fast as can be. You don't even get a chance to see what the command was. It's just amazing how fast some of these people know how to do stuff, but too fast for my old brain. And if I want to enjoy this, this is one of those things where I'm going to take my time with my cup of coffee in my Bucky's cup with the boss sitting next to me on a chair, scratching his left leg, and enjoy myself. Just play with this thing and learn how it works. There's no hurry. And here's the other thing. If you should bugger it up, if you should go in as $000 and you put in something, I don't know, that kills 10 of the necessary files, no big deal. All you have to do is go into that directory that you downloaded the zip file from, erase everything except for the zip file that you downloaded, unzip the file and restore all the files from scratch and start over. You didn't do anything. It's not like you were at the university. You went and you did the wrong thing. Somehow you broke the machine and you're running down the street with people chasing after you with pitchforks. Obviously, that's not going to happen. So that's pretty much today's little part 4, and that is how to get around. So let me just do a recap real fast. This is the thing that it drops you into when you first start. And by the way, that can be changed. There is a function that actually you can type in there, and then it'll just say, okay, next time around we'll use a different panel. And there's a way to actually create your own stuff. Another fun thing, I put a link at the bottom to Moshix. Moshix is a professional guy who is, the guy who got me into this stuff by running across his channel one day. Here's actually what happened. During the pandemic, when we were all sitting around wondering, what to do, I wanted something fun to play with. I wanted something different. I had already been down the Linux road, a Windows road. I knew a lot of stuff about this kind of thing, and I just thought, what is different? And came across somebody who had said, "Oh, you could emulate your own mainframe." Oh, okay. Now you got my attention. So I found Moshix. His videos are amazing. And I put a link below. Yeah, it's well worth watching the Moshix channel. But one thing he did was he got a professor from a university in Montreal, not McGill, named Rene Ferland. And I think Rene is the American pronunciation, so I apologize. I think it's a little more nuanced than that. And Rene Ferland did a hour and 45-minute video with Music SP, a masterclass about how to fool around with this thing and make things happen and so on and so forth. But it's an hour and 45 minutes. And he's a very good teacher and very, very paternal. Really enjoyed his, the way he presented. It was just, his voice, but it was very comfortable and very professorial. Reminded me of one of my friends that I work with on this kind of stuff. But it was an hour and 45 minutes, and my short attention span theater. Yeah. I watched it twice and made copious notes, and I'm not doing this to copy Rene, but some of the stuff may parallel, but what choice do we have, right? It is what it is. So I'll put the links to that, and you can see exactly what Dr. Ferland explained about Music SP. Okay. That is the general sense. So you have your you have your menus, you have your command prompt called the Go prompt. You have your environments where you can do various things in a more graphical environment, like the file library. Watch this. What the file library does is it gives you a kind of a graphical interface. The mainframe's version of File Explorer, for better or worse. And you can then use your mouse in this mode. When you're in this mode, you can use your cursor. I say mouse. You can use your cursor and your arrow keys. You can play. What was that game? Were the aliens and anyway. You can go and you can look at things. So there, for instance, here's the hi there text that I made a little while ago. If I type in the command view on that red line, it's going to say, hey, there it is. That's it. And then when I'm done with that, I can get back out again. Why is this interesting? Well, it's interesting because there's a feature in MVS, in IBM's MVS system, called the Productivity Facility. I think it's ISPF or something like that. And it gives you a similar layout where there's a line in front of the file, and then you can put in lines. You can put in lines. More coffee. Come here, you. There's not enough caffeine in that. It's possible. Hi there text. If I type in, I think I can do it this way. Edit hi there text. Yep, there it goes. It takes me into the editor from before. Then I can say, all right, I'm done, and I can back out again to the file library management screen. So there's 10 different ways to do things, a bunch of different ways to do things in Music SP, and it's very similar to the other operating systems. MTS is not quite as hand-holding by any means. IBM's MVS can be, depending upon what feature you're in, if you're using Roscoe or CICS or something to that effect, a million times more complicated. Which is why we're going to hang out here for quite a while, because we don't want to get into the complicated stuff until our brains are ready. And then to get out of it, you just go back out to the command prompt, type in off, and you're out. So that's it. That's the general way in which you interact with the interactive computing system product called Music. Okay, so I hope that was useful. I think it's the only way to proceed. No use getting into this stuff if you don't know what you're doing, right? There's no use getting into it if you don't know what the keys do, and there's no use getting into it if you feel frustrated and it's just not making you happy. And that can happen with this kind of thing. It's not for the impatient. How about that? All right. Hey, listen, I really appreciate all the wonderful comments. It's been super helpful and super encouraging, and I encourage you to keep them coming. If I'm doing something wrong, let me know. If I misinterpret something, let me know. If you think this is a great channel, let me know. If you think it's a terrible channel, let me know. I've got thick skin. But anyhow, all right, thanks a lot. Please subscribe if you haven't, and we'll move on to part 5 in a couple of days. And I think between part 5 and part 6, I'm going to do another little video about this great movie called Colossus the Forbidden Project, which you may or may not know about. It's a classic from the 70s with one of the most menacing computer systems you'll ever see in a movie. It makes HAL 9000 and Whopper look like kindergarten toys. But we'll talk about maybe in between. Give us a little bit of a break or something. All right. Please subscribe. Talk to you later. Yep. Talk to you later. Bye for now.